Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelos and that's a new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for MaxCookie. This time we'll talk again about the Air and Fuel model inside 3ds Max 2010, and we'll see how we can use it to create some air stuffs like a pony trail, and I'll create a really simple scene because we have no needs to use a complex character to understand all the feature. So let's start creating a sphere, and the sphere will be named head. Now we can go inside the perspective viewport. Let's remove the grid using the G key over the keyboard, and we can select from the modifier list the air and fuel, and you see that actually I have the fuel guide all over the sphere. If I like to have the fuel or the hair just on a area of the a mesh, I can go inside the polygon selection like there, and I can go there, for example, in the left viewport. Let's select this area, let's close it, and you see that actually I have my hair just there. So for the moment we can use this area, it's not a problem. And let's set a light, and we can use, for example, a standard. Let's use a target spot like this, and let's select this area. Let's see from the left. Okay, and let's go there inside the parameters, and let's use the shadow maps. Let's go in the environment, and you see that actually we have in the effects the air and fuel with all the parameters for the rendering. Now in the lighting we can set add air properties to all the lights, and you see that now inside the light we have the highlight attributes, and the parameters are really simple because we have the possibility to set on or off the light here, so this light will illuminate or not our hair inside the scene. And we have the resolution. The most important part is the resolution for the shadows. So for the moment we can use this basic value, and let's select the sphere, let's set to the center, and we can go there, and we can try to make a render to see how it works or not. We have to use the scanline rendering engine for the moment, and later we can see maybe if we use the Mental Ray rendering engine what we need or not. Let's make a test render, and you see the first pass was the shadows, and then we have the fuel. We can say that actually we have some kind of fuel. Let's go inside the environment, and let's change the background color maybe to a gray, just to see to have more visibility for the hair. Let's render again, and you see the first pass is the shadows, and then we have the fuel. Let's go there, and let's see if we can use for example maybe a skylight to illuminate better the scene. And let's use a sky color, something like that, and a very low value, something like 0.2. Let's make a test render. Okay, we have just more illumination there, and now I'd like to have the same illumination also for the hair, so we can go there inside the environment, the effects, hair and fuel, and you see that we have the global illumination, apply skylight, and a multiplier. Let's see how it works using this multiplier that actually is maybe really high. Let's render it, and you see that it's not so high, so maybe we can use it as is. Let's select the light again there, and let's change the resolution to 4800 so we can obtain more precise shadows there. You see? Okay, so actually we have more precision for the shadows. Let's go back there and let's go inside the mesh, but before we can save our scene, inside the right folder, video tutorial, CG cookie, inside June. Oh no, inside the deliver June, and that's the tooth one, and we can call it 3ds Max tooth J1. Okay, we have our basic scene. Okay, let's continue working on the hair setup, and you see that we have a really simple hair for the moment. Let's go there, and we have many parameters. Actually, we have the hair count, and you see that we have the possibility to have a different scaling. So actually the hair, let's use less hair, 1500, to see if the scale for the hair is enough or not. And let's try to make the root thickness bigger. Let's try with 15. Okay, so it's more visible, and we need less hair to make what we need. Let's try with 5000. Okay, so you see we have less hair, and the result is similar to have 15,000 hair. So now we can go and use an interesting feature. Let's go inside the left, and let's zoom it. Okay, and let's create a spline to give the shape to our hair. So for example, let's create something like that. Okay, really simple. Let's go back there, and now let's go inside the perspective. Let's change the color to the line to make it more visible. Let's select again the sphere, and inside the air and fur, you see that we have the spline deform. We can click none and select the spline, and you see that actually we have a complete different setup for our hair. And you see the first thing we can see, actually we have to come from spline to recreate using the spline the basic stuffs. We have the possibility to style the hair, but we are using the guide, using the spline guide, so it's more simple. But you see that our hair will be with a too low value for the segments, so we have to change the hair segments to have a curvy hair, and we can use, for example, 30. Let's make again a render. You see it's a little bit slower than before, but we have our hair put with a shape we decided before. So that's a really simple way to create the hair grooming or the fur grooming. So all the setup for the shape we'd like to give to the hair or to the fur, but we can use we use just one spline, and we can use more spline to make it. So we can go let's save. We can go back inside the viewport, and we can create, for example, starting from the first spline, let's create a copy using the rotate and the shift key. So you see I'm using it to create a copy, and then in the perspective we can move it there, and we can say that there we have the spline starting from there, and let's move a little bit the curve to give a different spline, a different shape to our hair. And I like to close the shape there at the end, something like that. Let's change a little bit there. Okay, and a little bit down. Okay, so that's really important when we use Morse spline, that you understand how we can use Morse spline. You can see that there we have the possibility to choose just one spline, but we have two spline there. So to create the spline that can be used by the hair and fur, we have to attach all the spline. And a really important thing is the order, the attachment order. So you have to remember to use a perfect order. So for example, this one must be the one, and this one must be the second spline, because if this one is the one and this one is the second, and maybe this one is the third one, if we use another spline, the spline will be used in the wrong way, and hair grooming will be really bad. So we have to go there, and that's the first one, and we have to attach the second one. Okay, let's close it. Now we have no spline there, so let's select again the spline, and you see that actually we have the center spline there that has been used for this area and the left area, and the second spline there that has been used for the right area of the shadows. So that's a really interesting way to use it. And for example, we can, you see, change then interactively all the stuffs. So for example, this spline can be shorter than before. Okay, so that's a really interesting way to create in a very interactively way our hair staffs. Okay, so for example, now we can change also a little bit there. Obviously we need more spline to make it grow in the perfect way, so we make our test using a low number of spline, but you can use more and more. Let's save it, and let's go back there, and let's use there in the perspective show save frame, so we can see in a very fast way what we will be visible inside the rendering. Let's make another test render. And you see that now maybe it's a little bit slower than before, but you see that it's changed than before, so we have a different condition and setup for our hair. Okay, now we can make, for example, the same stuffs there on the left area, and to make the same thing we can go inside the viewport, the top viewport, and we can choose this one, the spline. Let's go at the spline level. Let's select the spline, and we can use the mirror. Sorry, it's better to it's right, because we have to use the mirror option there. Let's make a copy, and let's make a mirror. Okay, but it's better to, let's set to off. Let's go back, let's select this one, the spline, and let's go there, and let's make a copy, and let's detach it. Okay, let's close it, Let's select this one, and I made the mirroring for this one, and we can move it there. And let's move also this one to the center of the hair, and this one there. Okay, so let's go there, and we have now to attach the third one. That's the new one. Okay, and you see that now the order is perfect because we have the first one to the right, the second one in the middle, and the third one on the left. So let's go back inside the perspective and let's see how it looks now. You see that now it's more precise. It's really more precise. So let's try to make a test render. And you see that now it's completely different than before. We have the possibility inside the Airview also to style our shape, and we can, for example, activate the style here, and you see that we have the possibility, for example, to airbrush it. But you see that actually we are using our spline, so we need to continue using our spline to have a more precise control over our hair. Or maybe we can recreate our basic hair starting from the spline, and then we can use the style hair to make a better grooming. And same thing if we try to use another option, you can see. Okay, so let's try to change a little bit the look. So we can go there in the selection, and let's close the tools, and let's close the stylish. Okay, we have the possibility to control the random scaleness. Okay, you see, so we have whole the hair in the same length, or we can make different length just using, for example, 60% of randomness for the hair. So we see, you can see that we have hair with more length or less length, and then we have the possibility to use the frizz. So the frizz give you see more chaos to the root or to the tip. So we can use, for example, root tip to 0, and maybe we can use an higher value for the root frizz. So let's use 80. So we'll have more chaos there and less chaos to the end of the hair. And we have the possibility to decide also the frequency over the 3 axis for the frizziness. So you see we have a complete control over the chaos or not. Let's try to make another test render. And you see that actually we have more chaos there and less chaos over there. So let's close it there. Let's use more and more chaos. Okay, something like that. And let's make another test render. You see that it's a little bit slower than before. And that's the result. So we have really bad chaos there and no chaos there. But we can always use the chaos also on the tip to obtain some strange look for the hair, and we can see the result there. And you see that, so it's really chaotic now. Let's go back there and let's change some more parameters. We have the possibility to use also the kink, and you see that we have a lot of chaos directly over the hair, the single hair. So let's try to use again back 0 for the frizz tip. And you can see now that it seems that there was no stylish over the hair for the root. And you see there we have a lot of cows, and we can have more cows, and you can see that we have also the possibility to change the frequency. So with more frequency we can have more and more cows, but for example on this test you can see that when I try to render it, we have not so much detail for the hair, so we need more segments. You can see there that we have no segments to make this kind of render. So in this case we have to go back there and for example maybe use 16. Let's see if it's enough or not. Not so much. So we can make maybe let's think kink, so just a little bit, and then just a little bit more for the tip, so less for the root and more for the tip. Let's make a test render. Okay, so you see that we have more order there and less order there, but we can use maybe more and more, so we have a really more realistic look for the hair there. Let's make the last test render for the setting. Okay. Okay. Let's go back there. Let's use more segments to be sure that we have the best quality possible. And let's go there. And we have the possibility also to use the multi-strand, so we can make some attachment to the hair. And we can use, for example, you see the multi-strands, and we can use, for example, more for the tipness and less for the tip, and we can make some little kind of randomize. Let's make a copy of the last render to see the differences. Let's make the render. You see that now is slower than before because we are using a 6 hair for every single hair we used before, because we are using the multi-strand. Let's wait for the rendering. It's a little bit slower than before because you have to imagine that now it's calculating the shadows in between all the hair we are using inside our scene. But maybe the quality will be better than before, and maybe we can use to speed up the rendering a little bit less amount for the count for the multi-strand. So maybe we can use 3 or maximum 4 hair for every single hair. And you see that's the work in progress result. So maybe yes, we can use a little bit less value for the count. Let's wait for the last part of the render. Okay, so you see the differences. Maybe we can use maybe 3 or 2 or maybe 3, and you see that we have the possibility to make some little more chaos and to randomize a little bit, so it can be maybe better. Let's go now inside the material parameters, and you see that we have all the parameters regarding the shader applied to the hair. Let's save the scene, and we have the possibility to control the color. And I like to have, for example, maybe a red color more darker, so maybe something like that. Okay, and a little bit darker also for the root color. And you see that now we have also the hue variation and the value variation. Let's remove the hue variation so we have no color changes, and let's make a little bit of value variation just to have some little differences between different hair, so we have a different color all around the head. Let's wait for the rendering. It's a little bit faster than before, not so much, but a little bit. Maybe we had 200% speed up. Let's wait for the next step. And you see that actually that's our look for the hair. I like later to use maybe a black color for the hair. And that's the actual look, and you have to imagine also that we need to have more precise look there for the hair. Let's go there to the multi-strand, and let's use a little bit less play. Okay, and let's move to have the black color and a very black color also for the tip. And we can see, let's save it. Let's see the latest parameter for this part of the tutorial. That's the mutant color and the mutant percentage. We have the possibility to add the mutant color between the hair. So for example, we can make the an old age look just using the color. So you see there we have the mutant color. Let's go for something like a gray, and let's say that we have 35% of mutant color. Let's render, and we'll see that now we have the black hair and some gray hair all over the head. That will be really useful to create, for example, the aging effects over human hair, or maybe also animal hair fur. Let's wait. And in the next part of the tutorial, we have to see more the dynamic stuffs and the rendering properties, and also more stuffs regarding mental ray usage. So we have to know how we can use the air model with mental ray, because actually we are just using the this scanline rendering. So you see that actually that's the percentage. Maybe we can use a darker color like this one, and maybe we can use a little bit of tips play also there to have more chaotic stuffs. And let's use a little bit less chaos there, just changing the freeze root and the king fruit. Let's save. Okay, so let's make our lattice test render just to see how it looks. Let's move the rendering viewport. And you have also to imagine that actually we are not using the maximum quality for the rendering, so it will become more slow when we make the final render. And we have to see in the next part also how to optimize the rendering speed and how to work on the hair in a more efficient way. And maybe in future tutorial we'll see also external plugin to make hair and fur for 3ds Max to understand uh, where is the possibility to use different feature and different uh, powerful parameters. So that's our final result for the moment. And so for the moment that's all, and we'll see again on the part number 2 for the hair tutorial, and we'll see all the other parameters for the hair and fur in 3ds Max 2010. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you again back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Thanks.